Hello, Opening Pathways viewers. It's Tom Lenoble. It's great to be with you again. Today I have Larry Salazar. He's the president and co-founder of NestSTEPS, and we're going to learn about NestSTEPS and most of all about Larry today. Larry, welcome to Opening Pathways.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm thrilled you're here with us today. So I want to jump right in from the beginning, and I'd like to hear about what sparked your idea about NestSTEPS and what is NestSTEPS?
Well, um, let's start with my passion for home ownership and just the home itself. I think this is something that's always been in my DNA, even as a child, right? I've always felt like the home was someplace special because the reality is it is special. It's where memories are created and so forth, right? So there's always been a passion for the home, and I wanted to actually do something with the home. Even when I was in, junior high and high school, I took a lot of architectural classes because that's the only thing I knew what to do to contribute to this idea of creating a home environment. Paths sometimes take a turn, right? And my career took a different path, but that passion never ever left. I will tell you that Nest Steps was not necessarily created at any one point, right? Like I said, it started even as when I was a kid with that passion for home. But I'll tell you, I remember when I was working for a company in Southern California, great company, great culture. Um, and we were renting a home at the time, my wife and I, but we could not afford to buy a home, we thought. So when these brand new condos came on the market, I thought it would be a great opportunity for us, but don't know how to do it, don't know if we can afford it, don't know if we could even qualify for a loan, and we walked away from it. Tom, it was a possibly a terrible decision, but it was also a decision that actually helped me to create Nest Steps because at that moment, I realized how important it was to me. And as a result, less than 2 years later, we moved. We took a job somewhere else for slightly higher pay, but a lot more affordable market. And so we purchased our first home somewhere else for while I was working in another company. That's when I realized the impact it has on people. And so over the years, we went through this process of changing careers and working for different companies. And I gathered all this, skills and understanding about benefits, about financial well-being, and so forth. And eventually, my wife and I, when she launched her real estate brokerage, we realized that we could do more than just sell homes. We could actually help people get into homes by providing the education, the behavior shaping tools, and even the contribution models that involve employers to get them into a situation where they're far better than they would be if they were renting. But that's kind of the journey of you know, where we started. And I'll tell you that what we came up with in terms of Nest Steps is just this transformation of home ownership into an employee benefit. That's what's great about this, right? And what we've done is we've created a scalable solution that's low administrative requirement and very cost effective for employers to be able to offer a benefit that really impacts the whole employee, not just the workplace experience, right? And this is the reason why we did this, because we felt like this could not only help the employee, but it also helps the employer. There's a lot of data out there that indicates that when
Great.
you offer home ownership as a benefit, you're going to drive deep loyalty. You're going to drive retention, and and we felt like this was an absolute win-win for everyone.
So I love this idea, and home ownership has been certainly a part of my life, and I know what that feeling is like. And there's lots of controversy today about whether own a home, not a home, when to own a home, when not to own a home, when are they available. But I think there's one thing for sure, if I look at my past, that whenever you decide to jump in buying a home, if nothing else, it's yours. And as I always used to say, if I want to paint the wall red, I can, and nobody can tell me not to. But there's many more benefits than that to it. So we're going to jump in now, Larry, and learn some stuff about you. So tell me this, how are you fundamentally different as a person since you started Nest Steps?
Wow. Um, There's a lot of different facets to that question. I mean, on a personal level, I will tell you that I'm so much more fulfilled. And I'll tell you why. Because over the years, when you're working for other companies, yeah, you can really get into what they do, but that's not necessarily the core passion that you have. For me, I'm actually doing something that I'm absolutely passionate about, right? Things that I've dreamt about doing since I was a child. And so on that level, it's just taps into an enormous desire to do well, do more, to help others, and so forth. So that's been a big change for me. But perhaps on the more of a career level kind of thing, I would say that I've always led marketing, communications, and sometimes product as well, right? Those are departments, and you think that you've got a lot of work. You think you're doing a whole lot, and it's tough. Man, just think about what it's like to be an entrepreneur, right? Trying to build a company from scratch. You have to be operating on the ground level. And then at the same time, at any given moment, you have to pivot to 30,000-foot level to talk to people about investment opportunities for them, to talk to um, uh, analysts out there, to talk to clients. You're just bouncing up and down like a trampoline, and then you're wearing multiple hats. It is hard, but I'm going to tell you, anyone who knows anything about entrepreneur will tell you the same thing. It is incredibly rewarding. There are days
Yeah.
you're just going to pull your hair out, right? But it's rewarding, and you build resiliency in that
You
process.
do. No 2 days are the same. I love to say whatever your list was today as an entrepreneur, whatever you didn't get done, forget about it because you're going to have a new to-do list tomorrow. So tell me this, what values have guided you from the start of this?
Um, I think there's just a deep desire to help other people to achieve their aspirations and their needs, right? I think I go back to my story, my own personal story about the home and what it means to me. It's not just shelter. Yes, there is that shelter part of it, right? But it's what we dream of. It's what Americans all love, right? The American dream includes the home, the family and kids, dog, picket fence, whatever, right? But the point of it is the home is the center of that. And for me, the value has always been to help people to to achieve their American dream, um, because it's again it represents multiple things for a lot of people. And it could represent dignity, it could represent safety, it could represent security, all of those things. And I felt like if I stay close to that vision, if I stay close to that value, then the business will build itself in a way that makes sense, that
Yeah,
aligns with that cultural take.
yeah.
So that's been the guiding principle.
I love it. So tell me this, I find that for most of us anyway, if not all, someone in our very young life influenced who we became. Who
Yeah.
is that for you?
Um, who is that from me? Wow, I think honestly, this is going to sound a little cliche, but I think my mom has been the one who's always been out there trying to help other people. She took care of us kids all. I mean, I came from a family of four kids, and all she ever did was just take care of us for literally everything. And I could argue that everybody has the same experience, everybody. But for me, it was just so meaningful because I saw the hardships that we went through. You see, my parents came here from another country, right? They came here from Hong Kong. And they were struggling. They were both working, even as far as I can remember. They both worked really hard. And sometimes my mom will work even night shifts. My dad will work a graveyard shifts just to feed us, just to keep us safe. And that never escaped my view. I always saw the things that they did. And so for me, it was my mom who did so much to help us, and it made me realize how important it is to always look for opportunities to help other people.
Yeah.
It may sound cliche, but it is what it is. For me, that's the primary focus.
Yes, yes. Like, it was my grandmother, so it's not cliche at all. I think that a lot of times when I hear ask this question, it's a parent, both parents, or a grandparent, or someone that was so close to us that it helped mold us as life went on. Larry, I'd love to know, where has life asked you to slow down recently?
Mm. When does life ask me to slow down? I'm wondering if you could, do you mind clarifying that question for me?
Sure, sure. Sometimes we're really busy and we find that we need to slow down a little bit to take more time for ourselves or to take a walk or to get back into a hobby or just to spend time with our family. Have you had something where life has said, you need to slow down a little?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that would be with my kids. See, I have 5 kids. 4 of them are out of the home. And it wasn't until this past, year and a half that I realized I've spent all my entire life working in an office, working, going in as early as 6:30 in the morning, leaving at 7 o'clock at night, and then trying to figure out doing some of the work in the home after dinner and so forth. And I realized how little time I had actually spent with my kids. The last couple of years have been incredible. One of my second youngest is now off. He's actually serving a mission for the church, for our church. But I still have a 14-year-old at home. And this is where, as you pointed out, uh, life has required me to slow down a little bit. I have tried so hard, my wife and I both, to spend more time with our children because at the end of the day, this is an important piece for me. Okay. I realize kids are only, the little kids for a few years. I had 5 opportunities to do this, to really just bond with my kids and really just spend so much time. It's not to say that we haven't had good relationship. It's just that you really haven't been able to cherish those moments because you're at work. And so the balance has, ended its way into my life. Like I said, probably in the last couple of years, more so than ever before. And with our last child at home, this is where we spend a lot of our time and effort and just for building better, stronger relationships.
Yeah, I have a friend with 4 boys, and the last one just graduated from high school, and she's dedicated her life after a great career to raising these 4 boys, and they're all just terrific people. But I think she's at that point now. Now what, right? Now it's back
Oh
to
yeah.
me. What do I do? It's interesting how we have these kids, and then they move away, and we get to maybe have another chapter to life. So tell me, how has your relationship with risk changed as you've been on this Nest Steps journey? What
With
is
risk.
risk like? Yeah.
It's funny you asked that. I was laying in bed this morning, and my stress level I felt like was just off the charts. It was about 4:40 this morning. I was just thinking about, oh my gosh, what if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? And so forth. And you can't get away from that. It's really, really hard. And there are many nights where I wake up and thinking about I need to do this to just deal with the challenges that are ahead. But I will tell you this: I think that um, with the help of my wife, who's actually a co-founder of this company, she's really done a great job in building a separate business already. And she knows how to handle the risks a lot better and the stress around the risk a lot better. And she's been giving me a lot of suggestions on how to deal with
Good.
it. It's been it's been very helpful because I don't know that if I didn't have that support, I think I would have walked away and said, let's go for something easier. Let's just go back 9 to 5. Let's go take care of that. But even if the grueling hours are there, right? Even if the hours are there, it's a lot less risk. It's a lot safer for sure.
Yes. Well, you hit on two things that are dear to me. One, when we think about those things and all those things that could happen, it's important every now and then to ask ourselves, did any of them actually happen? Because sometimes that thinking can just be something that gets started that we gets a little out of control in our stress, right? And the other thing I loved about what you said with your wife is we sometimes forget to use the energy of support, that the support of others can be so meaningful, especially in these high intense, high powered ventures that we're on. Yes?
Absolutely. And it's interesting to me because, sometimes the risk comes as a result of some mistakes that we make, right? Bad decisions and so forth, right? And so you beat yourself up all over this thing, and then you start stressing about, oh my gosh, how do I fix this? How do I address the problem? And sometimes you just have to be able to forgive yourself, and you have to be able to have others forgive you for making that mistake. And
Yeah.
so when you're working with your spouse, at least for myself, for Sherry and I, that's how we have been able to operate. That forgiveness is actually tremendously um, healing, if that's the right term.
Yeah. No, that's a great word for it. So tell me this. How does Larry decide when to pivot or push through?
Mm. I think we've made a ton of pivots lately in this past year. And I'll tell you, um, we don't pivot because one thing happens. We pivot because we've looked at something and said, wait a second, uh, maybe that is a better path. Let's try it again. Let's test it a little bit. And so there's this ongoing um, observation, testing, and then make a change. And I don't know that that's something that we've literally written out anywhere in any document or anything like that. It's just how we have learned to build our business. Take a look at what's happening, constantly observe if something is working. If it's not working, let's make a tweak and see if that works. If that doesn't work, let's try another tweak and so forth. And then once success comes, we move on. But we don't sit around and wait a year or two or three or something like that, hoping it will change because we can't afford to do that. We're a startup that's been around for less than a year. And we've made some fantastic decisions on the backs of some bad decisions along the way. And so the pivoting part of it has been, I would say, incredibly telling because no matter how good your planning is in the beginning, you're going to find out you're going to have to make some changes to those plans. So that's how we've been able to address it.
Yes, I hear you. So I'd love to know, how does Larry recognize when fear is just information and not a stop sign?
Okay, so that's a very good question. There's a there's something that I've learned, and that is there's a scarcity mindset driven by fear. And then there is the other side of things where driven by hope and success, opportunities, right? And it's not something that I it's not something that I had it in my DNA from the get-go. Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. A lot of things that I've done in the past have had to look at contingency reports and figure out what's a contingency planning. And so it's based on the worst case scenarios and so forth. Um, but I think that and this may not be scientific, right? But this is more about manifesting, having a focus, outlook on the positive things in life. Um, so when I'm looking at fear, uh, I have to actually actively think about it as what's the worst case scenario in here, and what can we do to address it? And that's it. That's the only thing that we have to focus on. Does it work every single time? No. There's going to be times when I'm laying in bed at 4 o'clock in the morning and I'm like thinking, oh my gosh, I did this wrong. I should have done something else. But after a while, usually after a couple of hours of sitting there thinking things through, it's like, everything's going to be okay. And I got to focus on the positive. I have to focus on what good can come out of it.
Yeah.
If I may add one more thing, I know this is a long,
Yeah.
drawn out response, but I want to add one thing. It occurred to me recently, um, from my own personal history as a TV news reporter, that there's a lot of good happening in our lives. And I'll tell you what I mean. People talk about how negative the media can be and so forth. We hear it all the time from our friends, our community, and other people around us, right? But the reality is, when I was a TV news reporter, I only reported on what's extraordinary, not the norm. And so when they hear about the bad things that are happening, you start to realize, wait, hold on a second. It's it's the news. They're only reporting on the extraordinary. If they're reporting on good deeds as being a news item, then that would mean that good deeds are no longer the norm, right? Positive things are no longer the norm. And so I have to take that approach. I have to shift my mindset and realize, hey, the reason why I'm upset, the reason why I'm up awake at 4 o'clock in the morning stressing about something is because it's not the norm. And so there's a lot of other things that are happening that we don't account for. But the reality is, good things are happening every single day. And we have to focus on the 80% of things that are actually happening in our lives.
Yeah, I love that you shared this. Somebody a while ago shared there's a publication or it's a website. It's called Good News, and when things are as wild as they are in our world today, every now and then, just saturating yourself with some good news is so important, right? Because there's a lot of good news going on. There's a lot
Yeah.
of good happening. And probably have a different podcast for a different day, but I believe that there are far more of us that are at least in similar mindsets than the noise that we hear, because as you say, the news is sometimes even catastrophized. So I love this idea of looking for good news, right? It's out
Mhm.
there everywhere. Thank you for saying that, Larry.
Yeah, of
Tell
course.
me this, what what impact are you most proud of? Not professionally or publicly, but personally.
Personally, the greatest impact I've had is on just raising kids. I know that's probably not what a lot of people might say, but for me, that's the most rewarding thing. And I think that's why there's such a high priority on my end to balance what I'm doing right now with NestSTEPS and making sure that I spend even more time than ever with my last child who's still at home.
Yeah.
Because I am proud of my kids for who they've become. Um, And when I say that, I don't mean it in an, like being boastful or anything like that, but to see that they're on their own, to see that they're making a living, to see that they're, you know, um, working hard, and trying to be good people. I don't know what more you can ask in life. I really don't.
Yeah.
There's it's hard to explain how that feeling compares to everything else, but I'm sure everybody knows what that feeling is. Anyone who's ever had the opportunity to raise a kid, raise a child, will know that feeling. It's something that it's hard to describe.
Yeah, I hear it often actually. I have a friend that they're getting ready to go celebrate their son is graduating with his master's in math, and
Wow.
they're so excited. And I think there's two sides to it. They're so excited because he's graduating, and they're so excited that we're almost done of financing this, right? But underneath it all, what it really is they're just simply so proud of that they've gotten to the other side, and this person is going to be a contributor in society and do well and be able to stand on their own 2 feet. So I
Yeah.
love hearing that from you, actually. So, I know we manage our businesses with lots of metrics, and we look at how we quantify, and we look at milestones. But how do you define success beyond those metrics and milestones? What does success mean to you?
Getting people into homes, getting as many people into homes as possible. And in terms of for the employers, again, there are metrics around that, but there's an absolute desire on my part to see employers succeed by having fewer people voluntarily leave. And so, while they are, hard business metrics in those cases, at the end of the day, for me, um, they are also, not necessarily hard metrics. They are tied to our mission, right? Because we want businesses to not have to, you know, uh, go through this process of hiring people and dealing with churn all the time. It's terrible for the culture. Anyone who's ever worked in an organization where there's high turnovers, it's terrible on a culture. And you, as an employee, go through the stress every single day, having to fill, a gap, and it's not good for the employee or the employee's family, friends, and personal life. And then, like I said, I think getting people in homes is really important because at the end of the day, I'm a big believer that that's part of most people's aspirations. I truly believe it. And data supports that. Okay. The data absolutely supports that, the majority of Americans believe that this is part of the American dream that they want to fulfill.
Yeah.
And so that's how I'm looking at measuring success. Can we get people into a home? Are we helping them to get in a better financial situation because they're no longer throwing money away in rent? Um, they feeling more secure? Are they reaching their life goals? These are all tied to what we're doing. And that's why we actually jumped into this business because we knew we could have that kind of impact.
Yeah, I love this. So, what boundary has become essential to your sustainability? What do you have in place that you ensure allows you to keep going at the high pace? So, for example, I know for me, a boundary I put in is I have an avid Pilates practice, and no matter what happens, I don't miss it.
Uh,
And and what I have to end up coaching a lot of executives on is these kinds of things. If you don't put them on your calendar like everything else, they're easily forgotten or become negotiable, as opposed to something that is as fixed as some of the other things in our calendar. So, what is that for you?
it's family time. Without a doubt, family time. Like I said, we are trying to add more family time, as a matter of fact, because again, we've missed out. I, I mean, it wasn't like I was always ever there, but it was we could have been there. I could have been a lot there for my kids a little bit more, quite a bit more. And so I don't think that I want to cross that line any longer, and that's the reason why we're trying to put uh, block more times off for our children, right? And even those who are away, we spend time
Yeah,
with them. Those are my boundaries more than anything else. I could argue that I go to the gym and I work out and stuff like that, but I will sacrifice that time just so I can be with my kids. And there are many times when I'm thinking to myself, I shouldn't be at the gym today because I need to spend more time at home. But
yeah,
I've never said that. I've never said that about being at work. I've only said that about being with my kids. At
yeah.
work, if I got to go to the gym, I'm going to go to the gym.
There you go. There you go. So tell me this. I'm interested to know, since you started on this journey with Nest Steps, what have you learned about trust?
Hmm. Oh, I think you have to put a lot of trust in your gut instinct. Okay. Sometimes you look at data and it can go either way, right? And sometimes data may say something completely wrong. And then you realize that when you tinker, and this is what I meant when I said you got to experiment. You can't just look at the data and say, "Hey, this is what has to happen," and so forth. You got to tinker with this. You got to experiment with this, and that is the data may say something, but when you actually try something, um, it doesn't always come out the way you think. And so you have to rely more on your gut instinct. And I'm not knocking on data. Don't misinterpret that in any way. And for anyone in the audience, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that our gut instinct isn't exactly just our guesses. Our gut instinct is based on our own experiences. It's a different type of data point. It's based on qualitative experiences, qualitative data, and you can't neglect that. You can't just say, hey, that doesn't matter. You can't just say, here's a paper, has some numbers on there. So you have to trust yourself once in a while. You have to trust your instincts because those instincts are what actually gets you through the process when the data doesn't tell you the whole story.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, what's the boldest vision for what comes next?
The boldest vision, well, Nessus is a big project for us, right? And we are absolutely, um, you know, full steam ahead on building this company. But I think we all have our visions, our grand visions, and for us, it's not just about helping employees get into home. It's not just about helping businesses drive a more loyal workforce and more engaged workforce. I think beyond that, my wife and I have always wanted to go beyond, you know, the employees, the employers. We've always wanted to help people who don't even have homes, meaning homeless people. Specifically, we have a desire to help homeless vets um, find a place, find a shelter. And so the hope is that someday, when we have the resources, we'd like to go and start building communities specifically to house these homeless vets, um, give them hope again, give them a sense of security, give them a sense of pride and self-identity, and perhaps more than anything else, dignity. And the goal is to just create these communities all over the country, bring them back on their feet, get them back up. They've done a lot for us. So I don't want to let them, be left out of society.
Yeah, yeah. Larry, what does legacy mean to you at this stage in life?
Nothing actually means nothing to me. I don't really care what legacy really means for me. What I care about is being able to have to see the kids. I mean, you could argue our kids are a legacy, but I want to see our kids to be successful. I want to see other people successful. But if my name is never mentioned, I don't care. That's not the reason why we're in the business. We're in the business, and our mission is only there to help those who are struggling and to help those people to get on their feet, or get them in a situation where they're better off than they were before.
Hmm.
But if my name is never mentioned, I could care less. And I can argue that my wife feels exactly the same way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tell me this. If your younger self, a much younger Larry, were listening to this podcast that we're doing, what would you tell him?
Follow your passion sooner. Yeah. Don't follow the numbers. Don't follow the dollar. Don't follow a career that people tell you you have to have. Follow your passion, because it doesn't really matter what you love doing. As long as you love doing it, you'll be successful at it. That's what matters. And I know that some people, I mean, I grew up with this um, a lot of direction, right, in life. Go be a doctor. Go do something that, be a lawyer, something like that. But what I learned was, as a kid, I had this passion for the home. Distractions in life led me elsewhere. Now, was it helpful? Very much, right? It helped me to connect the dots and apply all the skills that I have to get back to where I am today. But my passion never left. And so my passion as a child is now my passion as an adult. And I just happen to have had sort of some distractions over the last 35 years or so, right? So I would give my younger self that advice. Don't forget about what you're passionate about. Don't let noise and distractions take you away from that.
Yeah, viewers, Larry may be speaking to you right now. Larry, if you could leave one invitation for the listeners today, what would it be?
Well, I would say that there are opportunities to achieve that American dream for you. It's not dead, despite a lot of people feeling it that way. It's absolutely not dead. You just got to know how to get around to achieving that dream. And um, whether you do it on your own, whether you find it on your own, or work with us to do that, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, don't give up on that dream, because it's completely available. It's in reach. You just need to find the information to get there.
Yeah, I love this. Dreams do come true. Larry Salazar, president and co-founder of Nest Steps. Thank you for being on Opening Pathways today. How do we find you?
Well, you can find NestSTEPS on website www.neststepsbenefits.com, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I love it. People connect with me all the time on LinkedIn. I'm Larry Salazar. You can find me there, and I'm happy to accept your invitation.
Wonderful. Thank you for being on Opening Pathways today.
Yeah, thank you.
And to my viewers, this is Tom Lenoble. I'll see you next time.